You are now listening to the podcast for geeks and the stuff they love, where each week we'll talk about everything from anime to movies, games, and prop collecting with the people who create and love it. I'm Jeromy.
I'm Vinz.
And this is your Geek Fix. You know, one of the big questions I always get is, in reference to what a geek is, has to do a little bit about culture, because the truth be told, I think every city, every state, every place that you go, and also based on what it is that you're a geek about, really, that kind of changes naturally. And I felt like, you know, one thing that we have the benefit of is we've kind of got an international panel on our part, because you know, I'm kind of in a rural area myself. And where are you at?
I'm in a suburban area, actually. Well, for the Dutch standards, a suburban area.
That works.
Yeah,
that works. So, I mean, you know, it's a little different from place to place, a little bit, to give you an idea of kind of where I am, and even the reason why we originally started this channel, which I didn't get really mentioned in our first episode, is that it's hard where I am to be able to find people that have similar interests, you know, from building to collecting to, you know, toys, props, characters, whatever, the kinds of movies and things that I watch. And so I needed some way to be able to connect. And that's the reason why I put up the channel where I am. About a few years ago for the Super Bowl, they decided they would have a concert. And it's because I'm located, well, not exactly where I am, but in a city not too far from me, a really, really small town. I mean, teeny tiny, like Smallville size, Ghostbusters size town. It is halfway between New York and LA. And so they decided that they were going to have Pepsi was going to have a concert there. And the way that they announced it was that they just dropped off one day. They dropped off a couple of not Coke. That'd be funny. Pepsi machines that were self-powered in these cornfields.
Okay.
And so it just in the middle of the night kind of thing. And so people went out to these Pepsi machines, and you'd push the button and a free Pepsi would come out. And on the Pepsi can, it had an ad for this concert that was coming on this certain date. And of course it was a big deal because it was in the middle of nowhere, literally. And so we have a NebraskaCon that's not too far from me, but it's like an anime convention. But outside of that, there's really not much. And accessing stuff for building and everything too it's kind of different. What's it like where you are? Like how is it to access things, and what's the community like out where you are?
Well, we have. Well, in the Netherlands, it's a small country compared to the whole USA, of course,
Right.
And we're clustered around a couple of big cities, and most of the cons happen in the big cities.
Yeah,
we have very good public transport, so the trains and the buses are pretty good. So in the center of the Netherlands, there's a province called Utrecht, and I believe the capital is also called Utrecht, if my geography skills are still up to par. And thereabouts are big convention halls where these conventions are being held. So it's either a toy fair or a Comic-Con or something like that.
you mentioned last week literally ripping off Comic-Con.
I still don't know if it's official or not, but it's called the Dutch Comic-Con. It is a comic convention. And we have some anime conventions that happen also. One of the local ones here is called Abunai, which I think means danger or something.
Okay.
In Japanese. Yeah, so we tend to import a lot of stuff as a country, including culture. So all the 80s, 90s stuff that most people had in America, we also got sometimes dubbed into Dutch, but sometimes kept with subtitles. Subtitles are a big thing here in the Netherlands for foreign media, so to say, or English media. We tend to import those kind of things pretty well. So as you see, I'm wearing a Fallout shirt, for example.
76.
Yeah. It's getting bigger. It's getting more accepted. So also at work, there are a lot of geeks like me who share the same hobbies. So we have a D&D group.
That's great.
That kind of stuff. So it's pretty prevalent here.
Oh that's okay. So who do you have a set character that you are in Dungeons and Dragons?
Well, I was a gold warforged, which is like a kind of a robot, so to say, and it was called Arngold Schwarzenamber. So you can imagine the quotes he has.
Yeah.
So, and the fun thing is, it started off as a Terminator ripoff because he was an assassin rogue and everything, but it turned out to be like the most fun I ever had with a character. We had 2 campaigns. So one of them was in the standard D&D setting. The other one was in the Critical Role setting, which was Exandria, I believe. Which is a separate, it's a more epic kind of setting with more epic kind of magic that's happening. And in the standard D&D setting, I was I was Ignacio Big Fry, who was a goblin. They call him Fry because we wore a dragon costume, and he lived in the circus, and he could breathe fire, so he thought he was a dragon.
Okay. And that's a good career when you're in the circus, too.
Yeah. And he was the sidekick to the Baldur's Gate analog for Batman, who was Owlbear Man.
Okay.
And he... So
that's pretty good.
Yeah, and that was a pretty fun character to play as well, because we met actual dragons who had a hard time believing that a goblin wearing a dragon suit was a dragon. So that was fun to do. Yeah.
So which cons have you gone to? You mentioned you did go to the Comic-Con. Is that what you said? Or
there used to be, and I think back fondly to that. There was a StarCon, which was an actual Star Wars convention, and that was my first convention, and those weren't really prevalent across the Netherlands back then. It was quite local, and I believe I don't know the name, but like the executive producer of Empire was there, and like a couple of big names also. And I remember in the first panel, I didn't know anything about autographs or signing or whatever. There was a panel, and I just stood up and said, "Can I get your autograph, please?"
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, after the show, you could get them at the price. And they were pretty cheap, though. It was like $20 per autograph. So that was pretty good.
Wow, yeah.
But it was the first time actually going into the Star Wars collecting world. So seeing the old canon stuff, which was totally not in the shops and totally unknown back then. That was great. There's a big convention in Belgium called Facts, and that's a really big one. But because it's in Belgium, which is across the border for me, it takes a while to get there, and the parking isn't great. So we only go there. Of course, with COVID, it was shut down. But it's a really, really big one. And it has really cool stuff, like actual one-on-one prop replicas. So I bought a Master Sword replica from The Legend of Zelda.
How much was that? Out of curiosity.
125 euros. Or
that's not bad.
No, that's full metal, and it has a sheath and everything. Wow. So yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, typically the conferences that I've gone to, I don't know. The prices are usually a little bit high, and that's probably because, it's more individually done. I'd like to go to San Diego Comic-Con. I was actually down there during that. But that was that during COVID? I'm trying to remember. No, that was just before COVID was when I was down there. And, but yeah, I would love to be able to go down and actually cosplay. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah. But, I've had requests. So the Pip-Boy, since you got the Fallout stuff on, I did the Pip-Boy 2000, the working one. And I thought, oh yeah, it'd be fun to take that down. And somebody invited me to come down and take it. I don't think it would make it over or back because it has a lot of, without saying the word, has a lot of wires on it, and it has a lot of batteries inside and some other things. And it kind of looks probably through an X-ray machine like something shouldn't go on the plane. And then mailing it too, like would it come back? I'm a little nervous about doing it, and it's too far for me to drive it over there. But at the same time, yeah. So I know that there's a lot of people that FedEx their costumes.
Oh yeah.
To that, and they have a FedEx shop right there on the main level. I've been inside that convention center before, and so you can literally you send it there. You just pick it up right at the conference, and then you mail it out when you go to leave. But the chances are, I mean, you might lose some stuff somewhere along the way. So that's always scary. Have you gone in costume at all to anything?
Yeah, I actually, and it's a good thing that due to COVID, it wasn't that busy, but I actually went to see Ghostbusters Afterlife in my Ghostbusters costume.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And, I saw the pictures my wife made, and I'm glad I did afterwards because it's not a flattering costume. It's an overall basically. So, I'm a big guy, so it didn't look that sexy.
Did you have a proton pack too? Or?
No, that was too much to carry it was also,
where are you going to put it once when you're in there?
Yeah. And it was 40X, so the seats are moving with you, when you're in there. Yeah. So that would just break.
Gotcha.
But I did get my PKE meter and my gloves and everything. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Do you have a working PKE meter?
Yeah, like the what's the one? It's not Spirit Halloween or the
the Spirit Halloween one. Yeah.
Those are pretty good.
Yeah, we actually, my original plan, what was it? a year ago, was to go for Halloween. We were going to go not ghost hunting. Yeah, ghost hunting with some friends of mine that I used to work with that actually do that on a regular basis. Like they actually go to weird places, old hospitals and stuff like that.
The urban exploring
everything.
Kind of
yeah. And I was going to take my which is really an EMF reader is what it is. And the whole thing got canceled because COVID. Nobody could let us into the places we were supposed to go and stuff. So I missed out on that. I was kind of disappointed. I was thinking, oh wow, maybe we'll have something creepy happen, or probably somebody's going to get hurt because we probably shouldn't be inside these buildings. But at the same time,
I actually went urban exploring once by accident.
Did you? Where'd you do that?
I live near Eindhoven, which is the place where Philips got their roots.
Okay.
There's a big industrial area there with all old Philips factories, like the light bulb factories and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And there was, I think, I'm not sure if it's still there, but there was a hacker space there, which is basically like a maker space where you can go to get together with geeks and build stuff. Eindhoven is, they call the brain port of Europe or something, because Philips is there, ASML is there, like big tech companies are there. So there's a lot of geekery around.
Quick access.
Yeah. So, I went to the hackerspace, and the guy who rented it wasn't there, but we were just, fiddling around with laptops and looking at cool stuff and, cool. Geeking out. And, basically it was in a semi-abandoned, Philips, office building. And they rented out the lower parts of the area, but the upper areas were abandoned. And so we were like, okay, we just go upstairs. And it was really weird because like there were concrete stairs, and all the office plants, they just grew everywhere, like across the stairs and everything. It was real creepy. And then we went in the offices, and there was like displays for old modems and all that stuff just left there, like old stuff.
Wow, really?
And we went up, we would just, whenever a door was open, we looked inside, and we didn't break anything or break in or anything. We just walked. So we went all the way up to the top, and there was this whole restaurant decked out with plates and dishwashers, and everything was there. And there was a door open, so we went outside and went onto the balcony. And all of a sudden, someone just started swearing and rushing in with a flashlight, hitting people in the back and saying, "Oh, I'm gonna get you!" And it was the guard. And apparently, we triggered every sensor in the building.
Really?
Yeah.
So this was the unofficial type of. Yeah.
Yes,
I used to watch a lot of those videos.
but we weren't intentionally. We thought the guy is renting here, so we can just explore, you know. And there was no message saying you can't go up or whatever. It was a bit dodgy because the stairs were crumbling under your feet. But yeah, we were like, oh, we'll take the risk and see what's there.
Yeah.
So the night guard was really angry with us. But we just got told off basically, and but he just kept in there with a big mag light and started hitting on people in the back.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So did it remind you at all of Portal 2 or Fallout as you're walking through?
Yeah, it's surreal. It's quite eerie, but it's also like a time capsule because it's. I mean, like 80s modem. It's all purple and lens flary and all that stuff, like the commercial stuff. And it's just left there, and now it's renovated. There are offices in there, and it looks really beautiful. But back then, it was still, being renovated.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have a local makerspace that you go to, or that you do anything at normally? Or
well, that was the hackerspace back then. At work, we have a robotics club. I call it robotics club, but it's called something else.
Wow.
Where we're building a robot that is going to fetch your coffee for you autonomously. It's actually very high tech because we work. The company I work for actually has automated self-driving vehicles for transporting baggage and all that kind of stuff.
Really?
So we built.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, we built on that platform, and because of my affinity with 3D printing, they asked me to join because they wanted to build their own 3D printed stuff. So we are using the InMove, which is a 3D printed robot. We're using parts of that, like the arms and everything, to articulate the hands and arms to grab the coffee. But that's just a fun bit to also have a sort of hackathon out of office to explore out of the box things. Because if you can get a robot to grab coffee for you, you can make a robot do anything basically.
Right.
Yeah. So
that sounds.
But yeah, coming back to that, I actually stay at home most of the time because I have a very big garage in which I put all my stuff. So my equipment at home is most often better, or at least easier to access than a hackerspace nowadays. So I used to go there, but now I have all my stuff at home.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned 3D. So yeah, we have a couple of 3D printers. What types of 3D printers are you talking about? Like I have like PLA stuff, or what are you talking?
Yeah. So I bought I think in 2008 also, I bought a Chinese printer, the One-How Duplicator i3, which is also known as the Monoprice Maker Select. It's a pretty decent one. And then I figured out, hey, I can use that printer to build my own printer. And
that's true.
We can, in off hours, use our big plasma cutter at work to cut steel sheets. So I got the DXF files for the Prusa printer, the Mark II, and the Mark III. And I made my own custom printer. So I basically built a Prusa Mark III from scratch. I also sourced the motors from China, and we have an office in Shanghai, and a friend of mine accepted that package.
Wow.
So it was really leveraging all my friends across the borders to make it happen.
How big of a bed does it have?
I think it's 25 by 25 millimeters. Centimeters. Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty great.
And then I built that one, and then I was like, okay, now there's this stuff called resin printing. And we started doing Dungeons and Dragons. So I needed my Arnold Schwarzenegger mini. So I got a resin printer, and now I have the Anycubic fiber because it has auto bed leveling and all that kind of stuff. So I have 4 printers in total at the moment.
So can it do the the big thing now is how micro you can get with those printers?
Yeah.
How detailed are you getting with it?
I think 20 micrometers is the resolution that's bad.
Is it really?
Yeah. I mean, for everything I use it for, it's plenty enough.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So I used it for minis, and now I'm using it for like high detail stuff, like the bigger stuff. And the technology gets better.
Do machine too,
Yeah,
or do
yeah.
you do that separate? Oh, you do. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
I used to
great.
have a bread box with with a UV lamp in it.
Do you really?
Yeah. I think
Just old school, huh?
yeah, I think I saw it on Tested, and there was this like the IKEA bread box that I built around it, and
Uh-huh.
I think Sean Charles showed it on the Tested channel. So I made that one, and then a friend of mine who bought a resin printer because I had one said, "Hey, there's this new thing, the washing curing station. It's pretty cheap, so buy it." And then I did, and it saved so much time and so much mess. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like they almost even sell them these days. If you want to buy your resin printer, most of them you get the option to buy with it.
Yeah.
The curing, and it will be discounted for that reason and stuff. So I mean, boy, I'm still on the fence about getting one. I guess I don't like things that they have a process to them, I guess. Sometimes
it gets
and I know
messy.
it is a process. Yeah. But at the same time, some of the stuff that I'd like to be able to print, I don't think there'd be another way to do it better than that. I also some of the types of resin that are coming out, they're so good now too, and strong that I kind of like it. When I do 3D printing with my standard 3D printer, I'm using a lot of like wood and iron.
Okay.
I like the iron filament a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of part of the reason why I hadn't switched over either. But now I'm kind of, I don't know, getting sold on it a little bit. It sound like it's might be worth it. But so do you also have a laser cutter?
I wish. Yeah. It's one of the
if
things.
If you did, you'd have a fire story too.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah. Everyone I know that has a laser cutter has some story about the fire at some point in time. But yeah.
Yeah, I had a fire story with my 3D printer. It was a small one, but
what? Yeah. How did that happen?
The first one, the Chinese printer, the cables were pretty thin, and somehow they got scraped. And I was using a wrench to get the nozzle off, and all of a sudden the wrench and the nozzle connected for some reason, and it just sparked.
Oh.
So now I had like this XPS 15 NASA grade fire retardant sleeves around them now. So that won't happen.
Yeah. I don't think I've had a fire with those. I've always had you get the spider web.
Yeah.
When I haven't monitored it, you go to work or whatever, and you come back and something went a little bit off, and there's just a giant
blob,
fuzzy ball going on. Yeah. That's always a fun thing to discover. So what are some other community kinds of things that you told us last time about the Star Wars deal that happened out there, but what are some other things that you feel like are kind of help you tie you to the geek community?
Yeah, so I work at a pretty technical company, so most of them are geeks. So a lot of colleagues are also friends out of work, out of office times. So for me, that's the community. I actually am the board member of the board gaming community at my work.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we started doing some communities within the office. It's about 4,000 people or something in our company. And we decided that it would be nice to play board games together. So pre-COVID, it was a lot easier to do that, but now we're going back and we're having hand sanitizers and all that stuff and keeping our distance. So we actually got corporate funding to buy board games.
Really?
Yeah. I lobbied for it.
Like the company baseball team or something.
Yeah. Well, the thing was there was this sports group that basically there was a big event for like 40-year anniversary or something, and they wanted to showcase the communities. And one of the sporting communities got like this big climbing wall for I don't know how many thousands of euros to rent.
Wow.
So to show off to the rest of the outside, they were like, we're not gonna get our personal stuff here for the big community event, so give us a budget. And we got like 400 euros worth of board gaming budget. So we got like the really cool games like Clunk and some card games like Carcassonne and Ticket to Ride, that kind of stuff. So like the Euro games, as they call it. So it's pretty fun. So we basically pick a date every 2 weeks and let people vote on the day, because we want to give everybody a chance to be there. And then we have a big company restaurant, and it's like every 10th event we have a budget allocated to get some snacks from the restaurant, like hot snacks and everything. So it's pretty fun.
Wow.
And also fun to run the community with a couple of colleagues. So that's nice.
Yeah, that's great. Where I am, and probably, I mean, for those of you out there that also are like me, where you married someone that's not much of a geek, like my wife is not interested in most all the stuff that I'm interested in, but also, you know, I work in the medical field. A lot of the people I work around also aren't much of geeks, but I have learned, for example, at home, like if I want to get my wife into a Marvel movie, it's all about picking, like, she likes drama stuff. She likes certain types of things, documentaries, whatever. So what I did, for example, is, you know, I'll start a movie where I think it should start for her. And so, like, you know, I don't start up Doctor Strange at the beginning. I start it, you know, when he's doing surgery, and then he goes and breaks it, you know, and gets his injuries and stuff. And she's like into the movie. Because if you think about it, if you start at the right spot, there is no indication that this is a superhero movie, right? Right up until he actually gets his powers.
He's just a strange doctor.
3/4 of the way moving. Yeah. And so she's totally into it. And so the next thing you know, she really likes the show. And I've learned I can do that with almost any type of TV show or show. I even got her into, there's a TV show that's about, Albert, the butler from Batman.
All right. Yeah.
Pennyworth is the name of the show. And, same thing. Just don't tell her beforehand that it has any tie-in with Batman. And she's like, wow, this is really interesting. It's kind of an old show about stuff like that. Yeah. With a butler and stuff. Yeah. I think that's the way to introduce, at our work. I did convince people to do a VR day.
All right.
So I'll bring in, you know, we have a few Oculuses or Oculi or whatever you want to call them. And I'll bring those in and we'll play things like Keep Talking. Or else you explode. Yeah. Stuff like that.
I use that for team building.
Do you?
Yeah.
I'd like to build, speaking of props, I'd like to build a working case like that.
Oh, that's nice.
That really does that modular.
Yeah.
And then you could separate out the other person. I think that'd be pretty fun. That's a build that I think would be a fun project. But anyway, so I mean, I think there's opportunities, even if you're not surrounded by geeks, of converting people to the community. So, you know, making them interested, because otherwise, there's some things if I brought them up, probably I'd lose friends. But anyway, it's all good.
Yeah, they'll just sit there nodding silently and make the
right, up. Yeah, okay, whatever, right, space cool. boy. Yeah. If you enjoyed this podcast and want more, well, stay tuned for that. But also check out our channel and join our community on YouTube that goes by the same name, Your Geek Fix. Also check out our friend Vinz on Twitter at...
I think it's at massivedmg_. You can get the link in the description, I guess.
Also check out his old channel, Massive DMG on YouTube. We'd love for you to be part of this podcast as well, so please send in your questions and stories to yourgeekfix@gmail.com. In the meantime, this has been Your Geek Fix.